that's true. Naked Palpatine.
Oh, you pick that one. Fresh out of the clone tank, nude Palpatine is my
Well, that's the first thing I think of when you say Dark Empire Palpatine. Hello everybody and welcome back to the Star Wars Expanded Universe, now dubbed by Disney, or Lucasfilm, whichever way you slice it, Legends. And today I have for you Book 5 in the New Jedi Order's 19-book epic, the second part of the duology Agents of Chaos by the great James Luceno. Today I have for you Jedi Eclipse. Now, this art is significantly less interesting than the art we see on the thumbnail, because the Japanese art just goes hard. But without getting into spoilers, what really is this book about? I mean, it is a duology, so it's kind of leaping off the last one. What we learned from the last one, minor spoiler, is that Han is now traveling with this guy named Droma, trying to help him re-find his family. Leia is trying to help with refugees. Jason and Anakin they are now, in this book, going to be heading to Centerpoint Station in the Corellian system, because the New Republic wants to use that as a possible means of fighting off the Vong, as the Vong are continuing to gain more territory. Along with that, we also have the deals with the Hutts going on. That was going on in the last book too, but it's going on around here as well. Worth Skitter, who's a new Jedi that only exists in this series really, has been captured by the Vong. He was captured in the last one as well, but we're seeing more of that go on throughout this book. And we get a bit more with Nominor and with the introduction here, actually, of Tazvong La, who is we saw him in a couple other books, like, slightly, but here's the first time he's, like, really shown up. Next book will also, he's going to be a primary threat for a good rest of the series. But Tazvong La is one of the leader of the leaders of the warrior caste of the Yusong Vong. So he's, not the emperor in a Star Wars sort of term, but he is like a Tarkin, like very high up there in the totem pole of mattering within this war. So there's a lot of that going on. I'm trying to think about what I can talk to you without spoiling stuff. I continue to hate Jason. Jason is so freaking annoying in these books. Like, seriously, I do not like Jason Tiltrader. He's just a frustrating little butt in these books. And I'll get into that more in spoilers. But, we also get the reintroduction to Talon Card in this book, which was a lot of fun to see him. And an old villain, one of the better villains of the Bantam era, reemerges in this book. And that's about where I'll leave it in terms of spoiler-free stuff. It definitely advances the plot. Again, it's really hard when you get into this long-running series of what exactly I can say without spoiling stuff, because everything kind of bleeds into one another. But the essential gist of that is what I can tell you without really getting into the meat and potatoes of the book. So, more Han and Droma adventures, Jason and Anakin, Mara, Luke, Kip Durin, the whole shebang. They're here, they're doing stuff. Jaina's barely mentioned this book, so that's, if you're looking for a Jaina-centric book, this isn't the one for you. So that's... Han is still getting over his grief of Chewie. I think pretty much here on forward he's going to be pretty fine. But this last book where it's him on his own trying to figure things out. But by the end, he does seem to mostly be fine again. We still have a couple books that will address more of him, but for all intents and purposes, by the end of this duology, he is back to himself. Because we'll need him to be strong from when Leia can't be. But we haven't gotten there yet. But that's pretty much it for non-spoilers. If you don't want spoilers, now's your time to go. Though why are you listening to a review about the second half of a duology if you haven't read the first one? But yada, yada, yada. Spoiler-free. There you go. Go read it. It's worth your time. And now we get into these spoilers, which are not too many for this. We're 7 months into the war now. It's kind of mentioned, so We are 5 books into this 19-book epic, and we are now 7 months within the conflict. We're reaching close to a year now, being stuck with the Vong in charge of everything. Or, well, waging war on everyone. And Han's continuing to run from grief. He's kind of over-sulking, but he's also kind of not to the point where I need to be with my family in helping us, He's still kind of trying to just escape it, like escape thinking about it. Him and Droma have so many wonderful discussions together through this book and the last one, where it's clear that Han's just like prioritizing this because it's easier than, also if you can hear all that, it's a win because it's super strong today. But it's hard for him to get over this, and it's easier to just run away and not think about it, which I can understand. We also got General Abbott from Black Fleet Crisis, so that was pretty cool to see him again. We also have the military discussion with all these characters, like Abbott and other ones, discussions with the Vong and like what's the best course of action. That was one of the most interesting parts of the book for me, was just them discussing what should we do, what move should we play to combat this, what's the best course of action. It was a really fun discussion between these military figures. Along with learning that the Corellian trilogy is not the entire reason, but is one of the biggest factors why Leia, before the events of New Jedi Order, decided to retire from being Chief of State. And again, we have the Hutts. Hutts are being the Hutts. They're playing double sides. They're trying to, they obviously know the Vong are bad potatoes. Like, they're going to ruin everything if they stay around forever, but they also want to be in their good graces so they don't get hurt. So they're playing like double, triple agents. I hate him. I hate Jason. This is what I'm talking about. This isn't anything to do with my main point, which I will destroy you all moving forward. I will destroy you and your stupid arguments. You will rue the day. I'm mostly kidding. But there's nothing to do with that. There's no point in this book that has a point for me, so don't worry about that. He's just so frustrating. I hate Jason up until Traitor. And he's my favorite character up until the end of that, and he continues to be my favorite character despite all of you past Unifying Force. But he is so contradictory and annoying, and it's because they plan on killing him off. But he's like, meh, you can't do anything. You can't fight. You can't do this. It's not the Jedi way. That's him throughout this entire 5 books so far. Shut up. Nobody cares. You are retarded, Jason. No one loves you. You should die alone because you're annoying up until you're not. I have such a love-hate relationship with this character. I loved him. I thought he was so funny and so sweet in Young Jedi Knights. And then he's the most self-righteous little prick I've ever met in New Jedi Order. Up until he is humbled by the events of Star by Star, and then continues to be humbled with Verjay. Up until that point, he's the most... and then he gets some moments of redemption and balance point, but regardless, he's so frustrating in these books. But yeah, I just had to mention how much I hate Jason and how much he pisses me off. At least in these early stages. Leia and Haps. This was another Haps, Hapes, whatever you want to call it. I'm so happy. Do you understand like how much this matters? This is before the MCU, before any of that. Again, the time you invested in the expanding universe does something. There are people who just jump straight to this. Why would you do that? It's so much more significant and so much more exciting and so much more enthralling if you've done it the proper way. Which is Bantam Era, Young Jedi Knights, this. And it is because of this. Because of Tino Ka, because of Teniel Dojo, because of Isolder, however you want to put it, because of T'Chum, because of the Hapen Consortium, because if you've read Courtship of Princess Leia, and you've read Young Jedi Knights where Tino Ka's introduced, then this matters significantly more. It is the interconnectivity of it all. This is what makes the expanded universe the expanded universe. I'm hyping it up. Like they show up, they're important to the plot, but this matters. Like this could have been this could have been what Star Trek does. Here's a new planet with their own civilization, and we need them to help out because they could just come up with an explanation in that book. They don't need to use the same planet, but by using it, you've now put history to it. You now get moments where Isildur, whatever, I'm going to say Isildur because I like it better, and Leia get to, have a bit of a reunion. You get to have T'Challa be like, well, if only you were the queen, like I wanted. So you get all these amazing moments, and then it hits harder near the end of this book because you already care about certain people. Maybe not everyone in a Hapen Consortium, but you care about some of them, and the implications and the repercussions of some of these things that can happen, and why this matters so much. I love how much New Jedi Order and everything moving forward integrates everything else. Now people are going, oh, well, you didn't do good for Jason, and didn't do good for Jason. Shut your damn mouth and stop talking. We're not talking. You were trying to have fun. Anyway, sorry, that's my Negan coming out. I don't have time for your BS right now. I'm trying to enjoy my life. Anyway, side note, just a little side note. For those who stick around and watch my videos and don't disrespect and like me, just remember, take Star Wars as seriously as you should take any act of fiction, which is to say, not at all. Because normal people don't focus on that. Just remember though that if you want to complain about a certain subject within the expanded universe for 3 years and onward, that is perfectly normal human behavior. Thank you. Anyway, moving on from that, Nama Noor continues to be a phenomenal character. I'm so excited that we're continuing, knowing what I already know, reading it through a second time through with that knowledge makes every interaction with Nama Noor that much more fun and interesting. And he's dealing with the fact that the last couple things have gone down, like the whole Elaine plot and Vector Prime did not go the way he wanted it to. And so he's not looking the best with his superiors. And to think about Nama Noor, he's a lot like Dala in the sense where like he'll lose and then like jump all the way back up. He's constantly trying to reach that top pillar, and having to constantly rise back to the occasion. So it's something I love about his character. And then we have Thraken Sal Solo. He's back. Thraken Sal Solo. I'm a good guy now, right? He's not. But it is so cool to see Thraken again. It's kind of like having Loki show up in Avengers, like I genuinely think outside of Thrawn, Dala might be like third on here. That Thraken was one of the best villains we had in the Bantam era. I really enjoyed Thraken as a villain. I mean, he's not as complex as like Thrawn or anything, but he's still a fascinating villain, and I had a lot of... As cheesy as it is, an evil Han Solo is kind of awesome. And I like that premise. So it's good to see him again. And this all culminates in the big finale where Jason and Anakin are arguing about what to do with Centerpoint Station. And Anakin finally concedes, you know what, Jason? On this particular topic, you're right. I'm not going to shoot Centerpoint Station. Even though Anakin acknowledges that if he had done it, he could have done it perfectly with no other losses except the Yusong Vong. But because he says no, Thraken, kind of like if you're driving and somebody puts their... I think Matt Wilkins also said this too, like puts their foot on the pedal, like when you're trying to stop at a stop sign and your friend pushes the acceleration button instead. Or, grabs the wheel. Because he ends up... A large portion of the Vong gets shot, but also so does a good portion of the Hapen Consortium's battle fleet. So... Oops. So let's add another thing to what Anakin has to feel responsible for now. This poor kid. But that's kind of where the big conclusion of the book leads. And, repercussions will be there later on, moving down the line. But Thraken at it again by being the worst person ever. But, of course, he's going to look like the best dude on the planet by the end of this. And will, become He was a former criminal. Now he's, like, again, important to the politics of Corellia and everything. Because they're like, oh, my God, what a hero. So, I'll deal with that again. But overall, fantastic book. I will say I think this duology is a bit boring